Pat Lopez, where we talk everything real estate. Today, my guest is Corwin Jackson, a 203K HUD consultant. Corwin, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm doing well. I appreciate the invite.
Perfect. Now, let's talk about a 203K loan. What is that? And I'll set up the table real quick, and then you can elaborate.
Yeah.
So a 203K loan is an FHA loan where a
Yep.
buyer will get money to purchase the home and construction money, correct?
Yep. Renovation funds.
Renovation. Okay.
Yeah.
And with that, so if it's a $200,000 purchase, $50,000 in renovations,
Yep.
they can get a $250,000 loan minus their down payment.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, why would somebody call 203K HUD Consultant?
Yeah. Really.
What do you do?
Yeah. Good question. So, a big piece of what we do is we handle the contractor vetting process. So if you can imagine, I know we have a lot of different probably investors that's going to tune in and realtors. And I know if sometimes as professionals we struggle with getting the right contractor, just imagine from a new consumer,
Right.
right? Where do I find the contractor? What does that vetting process look like? What is he going to charge me? All those types of things.
Right.
So there's a lot of hand holding that just goes on with that. But wait, there's more, right? But then the next piece and equally as important, really helping them establish a budget,
Okay.
because what they think a full renovation is going to cost, Pat, I can tell you, is typically 30% of what it actually costs. Like
Right.
they have no idea in terms of like the mechanicals and just things that
Right.
go on. So really helping them establish a budget and then putting it in a format, which is a feasibility study that's digestible to the underwriter, something that the appraiser is going to understand, and it can
Right.
really give them, walk them through that closing
Okay.
scenario.
So when they had this feasibility study, the numbers
Yeah.
there, now they're able to take that. They're meeting with you first. Is that the deal?
Critically important. The HUD consultant should be there before the contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they have the numbers, and with the numbers that you have and the scope of work that's going to be done, now they can get bids from contractors, right?
Yeah. So we're going to create something called a blank contractor bid.
Okay.
Because a lot of times what we'll see happen, as a matter of fact, I'm leaving. I just left from a client probably about an hour ago. They'll have a contractor. One bid will come in from 70,000. Another one, like this particular one, was 110,000. Well, what's the difference?
Right.
The contractors were kind of sprinkling in their own sauce as they went along,
Right.
Because if you tell a contractor, hey, you know what, I want to renovate my kitchen, then they're going to say, okay, cool. We're going to demo the kitchen. We're going to go back with appliances, and they're not going into a lot of detail.
Right.
We're going to write up the scope of work on a granular level.
Okay.
Right? Hey, it's going to be a 5-piece General Electric appliance package. We're
Right.
going to go back with a granite countertop, a form sink, hardwood 3¼ inch flooring, right?
Right.
So that way, what the borrower think that they're going to get the finished product,
They get.
them and a contractor are
Right.
on the same page. So that work write up is super important to do
Right.
that.
And it's huge, yes, because you can get Wolf appliances for GE, and they could be $20,000 different.
$20,000 difference,
Right.
right? But so the most consumers don't understand that.
Right.
They don't get that.
Okay. So now for your work, because you're going to help them, you're going to put the budget together.
Yeah,
You'll help them vet the contractors.
absolutely.
Okay. Now for your work, how do you get paid?
Oh man, that's my favorite part of, is it Friday? That's my favorite part of the conversation. So HUD fees are actually paid up front. They're actually broken up into 2 different payments. One is for the feasibility study. The second one is for something called a work write-up.
Okay.
So while our fees are paid up front, when they get the closing, the clients can be reimbursed
Okay.
for those upfront fees.
And they're set by HUD.
Like I make my fees up as we go along.
Right.
Actually, you're 100% right, and I can tell you guys what, there are tons of really strong HUD consultants, particularly in this
Right.
region. But we all charge the same because these fees are set up by HUD.
Right. So there's no variation. It is what it is.
There is no variation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now I close on the loan.
Yeah.
And construction starts.
Yeah.
Okay. How do I get paid? How
does a contractor get paid?
Yeah, how does a contractor get paid,
Good
and how's the work keep on going?
Good question. So the contractors are getting, and this is what I really want the buyers, the consumers to appreciate, because we've all heard the stories where, you know what, I paid a contractor 50%, I haven't seen them since.
Right.
I paid them all the money and it never got done. So what happens in this scenario, this is designed to protect the buyer. So Contractors are paid based on a draw.
Okay.
All the draw is the contractor calling to say, hey, I've completed X amount of work, and that's what I'm looking to get paid on. So typically the first draw will look something like, hey, I completed a demo. We did a rough for the plumbing and we put the new roof on.
Okay.
Right. So that they are only going to be paid for that piece of work.
Right. And then they get paid after the work is complete because you're going to
Yes.
go out there and inspect it.
Yep. I'm going to go out there. We'll take a look at it. We'll make sure everything was done precisely to the way it was written up within the work write up. So one of the reasons why this is really cool is this presents a bar of entry to a lot of the newer contractors, because it takes some guys with some skin in the game that's been around the block a couple times to really be able to fund their own project.
Right.
Like I'll have some contractors that, we may schedule for 5 draws. They may call me for draw number 1, and then I don't see them again until they're done.
Right.
They completely funded their own project.
Okay. And then when you come out for the draws, you get paid there, correct?
Yeah. So what happens is, based on the scope of work and then the cost of the project, we'll sit down with the contractor and we'll understand how many draws the project will need.
Okay.
So let's say it's 3 draws, and each time I come out, there are fees that's built into the loan where we're
Right.
paying for.
And once again, that's set by HUD.
I keep telling you, I make these. No, it's 100% set by HUD.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, with that, if the contractor opens up a wall and they see that there's some joists cut, and now you need, new joist work
Yeah.
that was never in the scope of the work,
Yeah.
how is that covered?
So what happens is, we set aside. When I say we, I'm really speaking about the lender.
Right.
This is a federal loan. The lender sets aside, typically is 10 to 20% based on what we see at the property when we go out.
Okay.
So what that means is, let's just say it's a $60,000 project, and we're going to set aside 10%. Your renovation budget is actually 66,000.
Right.
Right. So what happens is, if anything goes left on a project, there's a unforeseen, as it's called,
Right.
within the renovation world. We're going to tap into that additional 6,000 to get the work done.
Right.
Right. So that way you don't have any there's no chance for financial hardship, and more importantly, you don't have to pull down some of the work you were doing. Like I
Right.
was going to do a granite countertop, now I'm going to do a laminate and composite.
Okay. So just to elaborate, if a project is $100,000,
Yeah.
you're looking anywhere between $10,000 to $20,000 in a contingency
Just in
fund.
contingency fees.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And what happens if you don't use that money? Because all your
Yeah.
projects go perfectly and you never
Oh,
need to
man,
touch that, right?
My project's smooth. Permits come back fast. We're in and out. We wish it all worked out that way. But no, seriously, there are some projects that go off without a hitch, right? So when that happens, if there is no unforeseen, then you really have 2 options. One, you can take those contingency fees and you can roll that back into the principal of the loan. Or 2, if we are 70% into that project, you can then tap into the contingency fees to add on something new or
An upgrade, something.
an,
Yeah.
an upgrade.
Right. If the
Absolutely, an
money's
upgrade.
there.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
We like upgrades.
There you go. Now, we're painting a rosy picture here. So what are some of the downfalls? Where,
Good point.
where's the sticking points?
Good point. Well, here's what I'll tell you, particularly for our the real estate community, our realtor friends out there. These loans typically takes 15 to 17 days longer to close
Okay.
than a traditional loan, right? That's one piece. The other piece, particularly for the consumer, is, guess what? If the lender is going to say, I'm going to lend you money to purchase the house and then also for the renovation, you better believe that the paperwork is going to be a little bit heavier,
Right.
right? A little bit more paperwork intense, we'll call it.
Okay. So to summarize, more work for the buyer,
Yes.
more work for the lender,
Yes.
and more work for the realtor.
A lot more waiting for the realtor as well.
Right.
Kind of, because some of the work they're not really involved in, scope of repairs,
Right.
feasibility study. They're just kind of watching the emails go back and forth.
Right.
Yeah.
But they always get the phone call anyway.
But they always get the phone call.
Right.
And then the piece is that the good piece for the lender, for the realtor, once this thing goes to settlement, they're out of it.
Right.
They're not involved with the draws, they're not involved with the contract, the headaches, the permits, some of these things that sometimes go on. They're now doing what they do best, going out finding another buyer and marrying them to another home.
Okay.
Right. So where this thing really works out at, where I'm really finding more realtors create a niche with this, because
Right.
that's what this is. is, hey, I've been working with a buyer for months. They've seen a couple houses. We just found the house. It's in the right school district, the right zip code. That curb appeal is there, but the kitchen needs to be updated,
Right.
right? Or they're looking to do an addition for another bathroom, or maybe the basement isn't finished, or maybe it's all three.
Right.
But this is an opportunity for them to say, hey, you know what? I think this is the house. Let's reach out to our lender about the possibility of an 203K program.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a couple things, some overview. Number one, it's a little bit more work.
Yes.
There's a little bit more fees because you're involving more people
Yeah.
in the loan. You can potentially get a good deal because if the house needs some work, unless there's a cash buyer ready to buy it, that house may stay on the market a little bit
It's
longer.
probably been sitting for a long time.
Right.
Absolutely.
So you may be able to do your work, and that house that was $250,000 in between repairs and purchase may be worth $275,000. So there could be some equity there.
Instant equity.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are some positives and negatives
Absolutely.
associated with the loan.
Absolutely.
Now, what am I missing? Is there any other questions? Anything that the audience should know about?
Yeah, one of the questions that I get a lot is, hey, well, you know what, Mr. Consultant, I'm pretty handy myself.
Oh, there you go.
How much of this work can I do myself, right?
Right.
And the answer is, there's only one piece of it you can take on yourself, and that's painting. So if you want to do like painting and priming, everything else, we really need a licensed contractor. There's some liability involved in that type of fun stuff.
Okay. So the biggest takeaway I'm taking from here is you're really an advocate for the buyer.
Yes.
You're really helping them out in all phases of the construction part,
Yeah.
working with the contractor,
Yeah.
putting a budget together, really walking them through so everybody's on the same page
Absolutely.
as far as that.
Yeah.
Okay. And if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
Hey, the best number, call or text 215-987-7547. We do have a 203K specialist in our office, and we have a fully staffed office Monday through Friday.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for keeping me in mind.
There you go. Okay. That's the Real Estate Show with Pat Lopez. Be sure to follow the show on Facebook and Instagram and subscribe below. Super important. I have some really good show topics coming up, some great guests. Also, leave a comment below on some show topics you'd like me to cover in the future. Remember, this show is everything real estate, no limits. Hope you enjoyed the show and have a great